Hi, today I'm exposing the business rate scandal that all pub owners are talking about by comparing 10 pubs and their current rateable values and their new valuations due to take effect in April this year. Now, it doesn't matter if you know these pubs or not, but they're all examples from the same area, and I will give a description of each, which should be reflected in their rateable value. And if you are a pub owner, please leave a comment below about your business rates. Now, on the other side, as a customer, picture some of your local pubs and try to have a guess at how much they are paying in business rates. Do you even know what business rates are for? Think of business rates as what local businesses, such as pubs, are paying to your local council for services that you are probably receiving, but they are largely not receiving themselves and are often again paying in their council tax for the same services. Extortionate amounts of money that have to be paid every month, whether they are open at all, and regardless of whether they have sold any goods or services. Now, these business rates just go into a big melting pot of money to be spent by the local authority. So, this applies equally anywhere in the country. But what I've done is I've taken 10 local pubs to here, most of which serve food and offer letting rooms, and I've compared their latest and current business rate valuations and ranked them. Now, what I've discovered is a massive disconnect. We're seeing a valuation lottery where some sites are getting away with incredibly low figures and do not appear to be paying anything at all, while others are being crushed by sky high rates as victims of their own success, it seems. Tragically, the pressure has already peaked for some, and some of the pubs on our list have recently stopped trading. In this video, I'm going to look at the data and identify the winners and losers and ask, is the current system actually fair? Now, the VOA calculates rateable values, but it does so using estimates. So, this is where things can get very messy. So, it depends on how reliable the information is that they are using. Now, if you look up the rateable value of one of your local pubs, that business will be paying approximately half of that amount over the year in business rates. Now, at number 10, we have the George with the lowest current rateable value. This pub is under fairly new management but developing a really good reputation for food. They have at least 4 letting rooms, but it was available for this pub business to be let for quite some time. The current rateable value of 11,600 seems a little bit low, but it was being offered for very low rent of only around £12,000 per annum before new management took over. But look at the new value, it's nearly doubled. A bit of a shock once you are already tied into a lease, but lower than it was for previous years of £33,500. Overall, I think that this one seems about right, as they are very limited by their size, and car parking is a bit troublesome for this one as well. Still, once the multiplier is applied, they are going to be paying nearly £1,000 a month from April, even if they make a loss. Now, in ninth position, we have the halfway house. And the rateable value looks slightly higher than the last one, but you're going to have to ignore that in a minute. And I'm trying really hard not to swear in my video podcasts. But this one does make it really difficult if you know our history. I'm not going to dwell on it all now, but I will let you make your mind up if you think that this one is fair. I find this one so much more shocking than the most expensive rateable values in my list. This one probably has more streams of income and facilities than any other pub on my list, with 30 caravan pitches, holiday cottages, holiday static caravans, letting rooms, etc., and an interesting planning history, with a current application for 6 further holiday lodges. Take a look. It also has a value of around £1,000,000, yet it has a current rateable value of just £12,000. That does not mean that with the government's multiplier, it's paying around £6,000. No, no, no. It's probably not paying a single penny towards local services. Nada. Why? Because it qualifies for rural relief as below the £12,500 threshold and in a rural location. It's only just outside of town, but exempt from business rates. Now, there's something extremely odd about this valuation. The VOA just simply cannot be aware of the current information about sales, its rental sale value, or what is on that site and the amount of business that it does. This clearly shows the unfairness of business rates. Now, the rateable value goes up to £22,250 in April 2026. That's still not high enough when you look at what is there. Right, so at number 8, we have one of the casualties of the cost of living crisis. A leasehold pub business that was hit almost immediately by COVID when the current occupiers took over. They've tried to diversify, but announced that they were closing at the beginning of this year. I do not see anything particularly out of the ordinary regarding their rateable value, except for it being for more than the last anomalous listing, let's call it, despite having far, far, far fewer facilities on offer. The real unfairness here comes from the road that they are on being closed on many occasions without compensation. But in terms of business rates, I do not think that they got any discount either. Now, my biggest worry for them is that even though that pub is closed, they'll still have to pay business rates as it's still listed by the VOA, and I don't see any way out of that for them. Someone still has to pay the business rates, and as soon as the first payment is missed, the council will bill them for the whole year. And then if they don't pay, they'll be taken to court with threats of bailiffs very quickly. Now, things start to get interesting with the remaining pubs, and we really do need to show some appreciation for how much our pubs pay into the government purse with business rates, council tax, VAT, employers' national insurance, and if they still make a profit, corporation tax. Now, I wasn't going to include this one, the Old Castle, as I do not think that it has letting rooms, but it does perfectly exemplify how you can be punished as a victim of your own success. This picturesque little pub that does not even have its own parking has just had its business rates doubled. And this is happening right across the country to our pubs that have fought against the odds and kept the tills ringing. So, by my approximation, it's going to be paying nearly £2,400 per month to finance services for other people from now onwards, regardless of the amount of trade that it conducts. And who knows how that is going to pan out with everything going on at the moment. Now, this is another interesting example at number 6, the Fulcum. Note the very similar current and future rateable value of this one compared with the last little pub. But this one has a car park, 21 letting rooms, and does a lot of food. Just doesn't make sense to me. How can the VOA be valuing them as the same? Do they have accurate information? If the last valuation is correct, then this one should be much higher. Now, they've announced that they're closing their restaurant in 5 days' time due to retirement, but I believe that their pub and letting rooms will still be operating. So this next one is just a few doors away from the Falcon that we just looked at, but with a much higher current rateable value, although a slightly lower future value. However, it doesn't have the 20 plus letting rooms, only 11. It's much smaller, it doesn't do food, but I include it to show how random these valuations seem to be. Right, now slightly out of town, at number 4 we have the Punch Bowl, but pretty much the same valuation as for the last pub. Just 3 letting rooms, but they do carveries, functions, that sort of thing. Fairly similar location to the pub at number 9 though, the Anomaly. But this pub is currently rated at £45,000 as opposed to what I believe to be 0 business rates at that other pub. Anyway, another big contributor to public services. So thank you to the Punch Bowl as well. Now, number 3, we have the Woodbury. I'm surprised at how high the business rates are for this one. Again, I think they may be a victim of their own success. It's in a residential area, just a short walk from the high street. It's got around 7 letting suites, good parking, food, and it's had another 25% increase in rates, but comparable with their previous valuations from a few years ago. But it's a lot of money for businesses to find, isn't it? Right, and number 2, we have the Down Inn. This next pub is the furthest from town, but look at those rateable valuations. It's another pub with a 25% increase coming too. It has a popular carvery, it's a wedding function venue, it has a car park suitable for coach parties. A very successful pub in terms of turnover, but lots of staff costs and wow, those business rates. It does just seem like a punishment for being successful. Why aren't corporation tax, if you make a profit, and the VAT on goods and services sold not enough for a business like this to pay? Where are the incentives for businesses to increase trade? When you look into what business rates pay for, then this business is not going to benefit from any of that. There's no infrastructure for a rural pub like this to benefit from. So, which pub is paying the highest business rates in this locality? So, at number 1, it's good old JD Wetherspoons on the high street. It's not the biggest pub and it doesn't have letting rooms. I thought it did, but they're not shown as available anyway. But the highest business rates that I could find. Yes, it does a good trade, but the rateable value is supposed to be calculated based on its rental value and not by who runs it. So, thank you, Wetherspoons, for paying so much into the public purse, which will be around £1,000 a week. But this just doesn't make sense to me. And it also got me thinking. Now, the thought of Wetherspoons going bump just seemed so unlikely a few years ago, but who knows these days? So, if that did happen, who would take over Wetherspoons on our high street? Probably no one with that rateable value. And this is what we're seeing really, is a destruction of the high street up and down the country. And you hear politicians talking about this all of the time, but why do they always say they'll remove business rates for pubs on the high street? What about all of the rural pubs that are suffering? The majority of them do not qualify for rural relief. So I'm just giving a big shout out to our rural pubs as well. They need help too. And I'll keep publicising the unfairness that is operating in plain sight, that most people are simply not aware of.